Welcome to the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Wags Media. Wags Media provides you with everything you need to generate more customers and grow your brand. Head on over to wagsmedia.com, wagsmedia.com, to enter a contest where you can win a free, done-for-you custom website valued at $2,500 for a limited time only. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today we have Madison Loomis with us. She is a technical recruitment manager and talent matchmaker with OneinaMil in Charleston, South Carolina. Culture-driven recruiter with success in talent acquisition throughout the insurance, healthcare, and software industry. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. So we'll dive right in, Madison. The first question I have for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Well, it's not so much a story as it is a phrase that actually my mom had given me a book with the lyrics in it when I was about 6 years old to the song I Hope You Dance by Leanne Womack. And this kind of just has an underlying meaning to me, and that it means, you know, you have to take risks in life, and something that's a little scary usually means it's worth it. And I actually have this tattooed on my back. So that's kind of a message that I carry with me, and it's almost become the background music to my life.
Literally and figuratively, right?
Yes.
The next one I have for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
That's a really good question, because there's so many things you can do, and there's so many people out there that will tell you to do one thing or another. I think the best advice that I have is to invest in yourself. Right now, with the advancement of technology, there's so many ways to brand ourselves, whether that be on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever other facets that people use in platforms of communication. But a lot of times we're not using them fully to our advantage to highlight and market ourselves the way that we want to. So investing in your own personal brand and making sure that you're doing that the right way is so important nowadays.
And what's your best piece of overall business advice?
I would say that your team is really what, makes you successful, and that I grew up with two parents who were small business owners, and they co-owned a pizza place together. So I've seen business in great times and in really hard times. And in those hard times, it came down to the people. If you have a team behind you that believes in the success of your company, then the company will succeed. And you have to build a team that works well together and shares similar values, because if they can't see the future of the company, it just doesn't work.
And if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
So much. I think right now I'm still pretty young. I'm 22, but I think if I could think back just to college and high school, I would say that as a young professional, the best advice is that I don't have to surround myself with negative people and expect a positive life. I've always been somewhat of a people pleaser and not wanting to leave anybody out, but sometimes you have to cut negative people out of your life in order to create the life that you want and find the value in people that you want.
And in your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
I think that the key to happiness is finding your strength and using it to help others find their own. So similar to what I do is I help people find jobs and align their passions with a career. So I think it's really cool to see someone light up when they're passionate about something. And I think if you're passionate about something, you should always go after it. And I think that we diminish this too much sometimes.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
Well, I'm not a huge reader. I definitely need to get into that more. Right now, I'm in the middle of reading 4-Hour Workweek, but my boss, Leanne, who's the CEO of OneinaMil, she's actually writing a book right now called Culture-Driven Recruitment. So it's going to explain her story and what we do at OneinaMil, and kind of a different way of going about recruitment that we find to be very successful for us. That should be published hopefully by the end of this fall.
And by the way, the 4-Hour Workweek changed my life, so I highly recommend. Definitely go all in on that.
Yes, it's so good so far.
Yes, very good. And what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote is fear looks and faith jumps. So within my own faith, I think that, I turn to God for a lot of things. And I think if we calculate every risk and we overanalyze things, we lose out on so much opportunity. And life is so short. It's not always supposed to be so planned and strategic and analyzed to a T. And this is something that I definitely struggle with. And I just always have to remind myself that sometimes you just have to jump and trust the heart of life.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming on, Madison. The last question I have for you before we let you go is, where's the best place for people to find you online?
Sure. I'm actually on every single communication platform that you could possibly find. But the best way to get in contact with me would be my LinkedIn, which is just Madison Loomis with OneinaMil.
Perfect. Thanks again for hopping on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.